Alrighty, I don't see any questions in the chat just yet. If you guys want to, definitely add them into the Q&A. Sorry, not the chat. Add them into the Q&A and we'll answer them in the order that they're received. It's been 2 weeks since the pricing webinar. We've had a lot of you guys interested in the secondary intake forms, and a lot of people have signed up for them. I just want to send out a pulse check with everyone who's on the call right now. Do we want to take a look at second intake forms to start? Or do we want to jump into FAQs? Because we do have quite a number of FAQs as well that we can go over today. If I don't see any messages in the Q&A, we'll probably start with FAQs just to get that out of the way. And then we can jump into some strategy and talk about different parts of the system if we need to. Cool. Okie dokie. So the first FAQ that we have is I need to delete the team member, but it only spins. What do I do from there? How do I make sure that I can remove a team member if I need to? So we're going to head over to our 3-line icon. We'll get down to our gear icon. We're going to go into organization and users. Once we're underneath there, we're going to identify who we need to delete. And now, if I just click on this trash can icon and I say delete, when I go to delete Riley, it's just going to spin and spin and spin and spin and spin. It's not going to ever actually delete Riley. The reason that it's not going to delete that team member is because we need to go over to our teams first. We need to go into our teams that have Riley on them, and we need to delete Riley from those teams first. So if we needed to delete Riley from this particular team, we're going to click on the trash can icon, and we need to reassign all of the transactions, all of the intake forms that are currently assigned to Riley. We need to reassign them to the user that is going to stay on the team. As you can see, I can reassign the transactions that are originally assigned to closing team to a different team if I need to. It does not have to be the same team that you're reassigning those transactions, intake forms, or properties to. So I'm going to go ahead and say delete. This is going to go through and reassign all of those properties to Hannah and then remove Riley from this particular team. I am in a test account, so I might have a longer waiting time zone, but also I know that I'm sharing on Zoom, so I also have to take that into account as well, that there is sometimes a bit of a buffer. If you guys end up finding that when you go to delete a team member, it's not letting you delete that team member, then it's a different conversation. And you'll want to reach out to us in support. We can take a look at what's going on in your account and see if there's an issue there. I think the reason we're kind of waiting a long time right now for this to switch over is, number one, I have quite a number of properties in this account, but also number two, I think it's because I am in a test account. But the first step would be to remove Riley from those particular teams. I'm just going to go ahead and refresh the screen. Go back over to that team and see if we've gotten Riley removed. So no, that's fine. Again, like I said, this is a testing account, so that's probably why I'm not able to get her off there. But the idea is that you're going to remove them from those teams, then you'll be able to go back and you'll be able to remove that user. The other thing that you can do if you're like, I can't remove the user just yet, or I want to repurpose this user, you can log in as that user. So you can use that impersonation option right here. Once you impersonate, you're going to go over to your little person icon as them. Your top red bar, your bar at the top will be red. So actually, let me go ahead and do that. Cool. It's going to look like this. If I needed to change some of the details for Riley, maybe I want to make this a neutral login. I'm going to go over to my person icon up at the top when I'm impersonating Riley or logged in as them. I'm going to go to profile. And then here, obviously, this is going to allow me to neutralize the name for Riley. But I can go over to security and I can update the email, change the password, and change the username. So if I need to update or change something on this particular user, I can impersonate them and make those updates if I need to. Okay, that's just if you need to. Cool. All right. The next question that I got was more about plans, and it's about what's the difference between, if I'm on the premium plan or if I'm on the grow plan, or, how does that work, or how are they similar? So if we're looking at our previous pricing plan, what I'm first going to do is going to go over to our website and I'm going to click on pricing. And I have a little Hot tip for you guys, if anyone is on the previous plan and you want to take a look at it, that website's still technically alive. It's just not something that we link to because it's not our current pricing. So if we go up into the URL and we change that V1 to V2, that's going to be version 1 pricing. Here we're going to see those pricing plans. Again, I don't think that we have really anyone that's on the light or the plus. I think that that was archived, I believe, just because it is very, very limited when it comes to using open and close. But there are a majority of users who are still on the premium plan. So if you're on that plan and you want to take a look at what you have right now, you can go to this. If you want to see what's on the add-on, premium add-on, then you can click on that and it's going to take you to the bottom of the page and show you what's in with that premium add-on. Now, how does this compare to our current pricing plan? If I go back over to pricing and just click on that, it's going to refresh. If you're on the premium plan, okay, the V1 premium plan, the equivalent to that is going to be the Grow plan. Making that update or that upgrade is going to get you access to a couple of things within the Grow plan. The couple main ones being Field Introspector. You're going to get the option to add in commissions or build out your commissions on a property. And then you're going to also get the option to do some reporting. It'll also make secondary intake forms available to you. When that feature is live, obviously you make the upgrade, it's going to pop into your account. Currently that feature is in beta. So if you're interested in that, you would have to be on the new pricing plan. So either Grow, Pro, or Scale to get onto that secondary intake forms beta. And you would have to be an active subscriber. That's usually what we do for most of our betas. We're going to want feedback from you regarding how things are going, anything that you're seeing that you don't like, that you might need an upgrade to or a change to. And it's just good for us to like get some live constructive feedback from you guys to make sure that secondary intake forms become something that everyone is able to adopt and enjoy. So Pro plan to Grow plan. That's the linear move. Like I said, you do still get quite a number of things that are with it. Next, if you're on the premium with the premium add-on, that's going to be like $168 per month. The equivalent to that would be going to the Pro plan. So it's a $31 increase. If you're going to go from premium with premium add-on to Pro plan, it's a $31 increase if you're going from premium to Grow plan. Okay. So from $69 a month to $99 a month, or from $168 a month to $199 a month, right? So that's just the math behind it. For Pro plan, if you're on the premium add-on plan and you're making that linear switch to Grow plan or the Pro plan, you're going to get access to DocuSign. You're going to get access to webhooks. You're going to get access to commission templates, as well as the commission reports on the property. You'll get access to additional reporting options. So like be able to create more reports than before. Obviously, secondary intake forms is going to become available to you. I'm not quite sure the number that's going to be made available when it's live. But I think right now, I want to say right now on the Pro plan, you get 3 secondary intake forms. I could be wrong, but it kind of just depends. So we would have to take a look at that. Obviously, it's still in beta. So we're just trying to figure out the sweet spot number for that. You'll also get other views for your task pipeline. You'll just get additional filters that can be very helpful with trying to drill down and see what your team's doing, or if you needed to take a look at the different types of, like filtering when it comes to tasks. So if we go to like tasks and we talk about the filtering here, the task display options, there's a little bit more options here. And like I said, there's a little bit more options when it comes to, let me just create a snapshot. We'll call this one tests without any filters. So here, you'll have additional filters for property client type and property status. That would be included on the Pro plan. You'll also get the opportunity to color coordinate your fields in the back end. So if I wanted my financing types to be different colors, I could have it that if it's blank, it's red. But when it's a cash deal, it's green. Or if it's conventional, it's pink. Or if it's a VA loan, it's blue. And these are preset colors. So when I go to my property, well, let's go ahead and go to this one. Here we've got that financing type. When I update that financing type, here we can see those colors are now updated here. And I say that it's actually a VA loan. Now that color is turned blue. Color coordination is something that I see a lot of users who are on the pro plan that are not utilizing it, even though I definitely suggest you should. I think that going in and having that as a really quick way to see different information highlighted on your transaction is super helpful. Because if you start to really get down to associating your colors to certain things, it's easier for you to kind of figure out what's going on that transaction. So for example, if I make all of my HOA details yellow and my HOA task template is yellow, really quickly when I look at my task templates, I can see, oh, if it's got yellow in it, there's probably an HOA, right? And then I can scroll down and confirm that with my fields. If I'm seeing yellow fields for my HOA, then they're yellow. So I figured, point that out. There's studies about color coordination as well, and making things easier to remember with your mind, as long as you have them organized correctly and you're using them in the right way. You don't want to use green for buyers, sellers, and something else. We want to be very specific about the colors that we're using, so our brains associate it with that. The other kind of features that are on Pro that are similar to what's on the premium add-on plan are going to be stuff like unlimited task triggers. So you can have as many as you want on the Pro plan. You can have as many as you want on the premium add-on plan. And then I also saw that there was some updates to other areas of the system where certain trigger templates were more available or easier to use on the newer pricing plan on V2 pricing plan. So just a couple things to keep in mind. The other equivalent is, or our most expensive plan that has unlimited everything, unlimited intake forms, unlimited secondary intake forms, unlimited task triggers, all that good stuff. That's going to be on the scale plan. The scale plan also has property triggers on it as well. So I've updated this field. This email comes up. It says it's ready to go. I've uploaded a document and assigned a file role. This other email comes up and says that it's ready to go. I've added a contact, or I've updated a contact on the property to have a specific contact role. This email's ready to go. So it's using conditions to say when you want certain communications to fire off. You can also set up those communications to either be like, hey, this is ready to go immediately. You need to click send, or this is going to be ready in 3 days, 2 days, 1 day kind of thing. With those particular triggers, you will always be reviewing them before you send them out. Now, that's not to say that in the future, we're going to have something different where you can have them actually go out automatically, where it meets the condition. You don't have to review it. The email goes out. But there's a lot of heavy testing that comes involved with that, right? We need to make sure that, number one, your account is set up correctly for it, and make sure that you've got all the great conditions to make sure that things are really only firing up when they need to. But there is a level of just agreements that come into using that kind of, I'd say, hardcore automation, right? We just want to make sure that everyone's actually receiving what they need to receive, and that your system is bulletproof when it comes to those kinds of things. Looks like we got a question. Are we able to connect Zapier to OTC or Zapier to OTC? It depends. That's going to be on the Pro plan if we're looking at the plans. So you're going to want to be on the Pro plan so that you can get access to, underneath the gear icon, we're going to go to apps and APIs to get access to webhooks. Specifically right now, outbound webhooks is the only thing that's available right now. Now, when it comes to connecting, it's really saying like, okay, cool. Well, this is what it's going to be. This is the action that's with it, right? We're taking information out of open to close. We're putting it somewhere else. And here you can put in that endpoint, which is typically Zapier when you're adding that link to get it to take the data out of open to close. So you can technically do that. You can bring it in here. The other option that you have is building out custom API work. So you can go to API tokens. You can create a new API token. And then if you are familiar with the development world, you can use any number of these kind of options to sit here and do what you need to do with the API. Now, API is two ways. So you can have the API push data into open to close. You can also have it take data out of open to close. But like I said, you're going to want to work with a developer. Or, if you have someone who is a developer on your team, they could probably set up some things with you or set up some things with this. But yeah. Cool. Sweet. We got another question. Would love to, oh, I'm sorry, I'm assuming it's love to have webhooks to include contact data on the property. So one of the webhooks that is available is that. We've got when a contact's created, updated, or deleted. But again, that's pulling information out of open to close. Outbound is what's currently available to all users. So if you needed to take that contact and take it out of open to close, you could do that. Now, if you're talking about like adding contact information to a field, oh, I'm so sorry. Contact information on a field, that's a little different, right? If you're relating it to your fields here, the way that it'll work is a little different from like a contact underneath the contact tab. I want when a property is added to grab the contact information on the property. Yeah, so I would have to see like where you mean grabbing the contact information on the property. Like I said, currently with outbound webhooks, you can pull information out when contacts created, updated, or deleted. If I'm not sure now, kind of like reading it back, when property is added, grab the contact information on the property. I'm assuming that's part of how these would work, but I would have to do some testing myself to confirm that. I assumed that when a contact was created, that's kind of, it can create that Google Sheet. You know, when an intake form gets filled out and the contact gets added new in there, it's being created. So I assume that that's how you can do it. And then obviously once that property gets populated, that contact record lives on that property, but it also lives in underneath your organization, like just underneath your contacts view here. But I would have to do some testing and see if this also accounts for that as well. When a property's created and a contact's created, updated, deleted kind of thing. But if we're searching for contacts and we're adding them to a property, that's a little different, right? That's not creating a new contact. You're not clicking on create contact, filling this information out and saying save. If you're searching for someone who's already existing here, like Kelly, I don't have Kelly in here. We'll do Michael. So here, Michael, if I'm selecting someone from here, I'm not creating them. They already exist. They're already here. They're already on this account. So that's a little different, right? It necessarily won't work with that. What I would probably suggest is with that is I would go through our API documentation and see about using API documentation there. Because right here where it says property contacts, if I click on that, we have a get property contacts, and that's pulling the information from open to close and taking it wherever you need to take it. Again, this would require some development work in a system already set up. So when it comes to development work, we have a couple different options. The workflow wizard has been the most popular pick right now because he's really good at building out those kind of, this is what I need, this is what I'd like to have set up, and then going through and working with you to get that set up. Typically they're quick, easy solutions. If you're looking for something a little bit more advanced, it kind of depends. I think that the workflow wizard could still work in those instances, but we do work with other partners like the Bar Agency. We work with Osiris. We work with Daniel Poston. Who else do we work with? Kelly, am I forgetting anyone? I know there's like a couple more on the list.
Oh, I was going to say those were the three that came to my mind too, because that was my first thought too, is using the open API. Plus, if you can do it yourself, it's free. Because I know at some point Zapier is cost.
It is. That is true. Yeah. Yeah. So if you're using the outbound webhooks, you know, it might be, you know, if you don't want to have to pay that cost, it might be more fruitful to go through and build it out in the API because that's free, right? That's what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you go with Daniel Poston or Bara or Daniel Poston with Interface, Bara, Osiris, and pay them to use the API.
I swore there was another one and I can't remember the name of it. It's like on the tip of my tongue, and I'm not going to be able to remember who it is. But if you are interested in that, if you're interested in working with one of those people, definitely feel free to reach out to us and support. I think we have a list of some of the people, and this would be the best probably thing to do, is go to our Facebook page and post on the Facebook page. Hey, looking to do some basic API setup. This is what I want to do. Has anyone else done it? right? Because if someone else has done it and they did it for free and you want to make it easy, you could probably just copy what they did and then update it so that it matches your open to close account, right? So that the information, right? We're grabbing that, we're going to create that API key. Oh, not apps, API token. You're going to create that API token, that API key, and you're going to use that for your setup, right? So that would be like kind of the difference. And again, that's why I'm saying like there's ways that to make this super easy, and there are ways like if it's already been done once, it's easy to replicate, super easy to replicate. Cool. Sweet. Looks like we've got another question. Okay, so many of my contract tasks are based on acceptance date. Have situation that comes up occasionally, the dates don't start until a contingency removal is received, and then the dates would be based on that date. How can I do this without having to redo my task templates? I have a removal of replacement property date, which is a field, which is one of the dates I'm talking about. So, okay, so if I'm being honest with you, anytime we run into a situation where the tasks might have a different timeline based off of other dates. So like if I had like, you know, my main under contract one right here, right? So, and a lot of these, some of them are built off of my intake date, my closing date. They might be, looks like some of these are actually also deleted. Let me go to, let's go to this one. This one will be better. So most of these are built off of like my closing date. You can kind of see that from like my list of tasks here. If you're talking about a scenario where it's not going to be based off the closing date, but it's going to be based off of a completely different date because it follows a different timeline. If it's a different type of contractor, there's a specific contingency. My suggestion would be to go to the task template that you need to alter that is going to have those different dates and make a clone of it. And I would rename that task template so that it accounts for that. And then however you find out that it's going to be either based off of acceptance or contingency, maybe there's an addendum that you're looking for, or just another question that you can ask. We're going to want to ask that on our intake form if that's how you're getting your properties into open to close. And you'll say, okay, so if it's this, we need to use this task template with the other due dates on it. If it's not this, then we can use the original task template, just the buyers under contract one or sellers under contract one, whichever one you have. But you're going to want to create two separate task templates. If the due dates are different, you need two separate task templates instead of having it in one and having to change the dates.
Hannah, when I did this, because in California, we have that SPRP that she's referring
Yes.
to.
Yes.
I built that all out. I had a whole, like, I had the initial question, is there an SPRP or even the COP? The COP, the contingency of buyer's purchase property. I built those field sections out. I put them into my system, and I had task templates, property triggers, um, a whole date template on it, all of
Yep.
that totally separately. That brought in that information on top of my main stuff because my main stuff did come in, but a lot of times it came in later because with that SPRP, things don't start on that specific date. So when I added that specific date, I had the date calculations and everything for the whole document. It was kind of
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
And Shanda, if you want to reach out to Hannah, we can connect. The three of us can connect, and I can kind of give you an overview of what I did,
Yeah.
if that's easier in the end. But I did that, and then I, in a sense, chained it. So when we got to that date was added about that those, you know, the SPRP was removed, and then I had triggers that brought in the actual templates for what would happen afterwards. So I kind of broke it down step by step with the SPRP and the COP, but the SPRP mainly, and just thought the whole process through and kind of worked backwards with something like that. So that might help.
Definitely. Definitely. What we'll do then, since you are interested in meeting with both of us, feel free to reach out in support. Just send them a message and say, Hannah said that I can work with Hannah and Kelly. And when we see that come in, I have a link that I can share. And then when you schedule, you'll schedule with me and Kelly. Looks like we have a couple days next week on the 8th and the 10th. I'll see if I can open up my calendar a bit more. I know I've been a little bit slammed recently. So So yeah, we can get you a link and get you scheduled with us. Actually, maybe I can just grab it now. If I reply and answer, send it privately. Perfect. There we go. I sent it to you privately. It's the link to Calendly. That one should work.
Thank you,
Should
Anna.
work. Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm excited to hear about it. I actually just had a conversation yesterday with someone else about a very similar situation with the COP and timeline and dates and how they wanted those to show up in their emails. And well, if it's this, then we want to show this, the actual dates. But if it's this, then we want to show the number fields kind of thing. So it'll be a really, really cool call to be on and you know, get a little bit more familiar with. Cool. Awesome. Let me see. Next one. This is what I'm looking for when a property is added. We want to send info to Slack channel via webhook. And Zapier cannot do that with the new webhook of the property added. See this, and then it shows the list. Yeah, so that would not be something that you would want to do through webhooks. That would be something that you would want to do through the API. That's what you would want to do for that. You would have to work with a developer to go through and set it up initially to say, this is the open to close account that when a property is created, I want to get the contacts. That's what this one is, get contacts, get property contacts or contact. Then you'd pull that data out and it would be like here, it's going to first search for the email and pull that in, and then you'll be able to pull all the other data for those particular people. And then you can put it wherever you want to put it at that point. But that sounds like to me developmental work. And like I said, if it's something pretty straightforward like this, I think you should be fine with just reaching out to Daniel Whitworth, right? Am I saying his name right? Workflow Wizard. He's posted quite a bit on our Facebook plan. I would reach out to that, but yeah.
Did you say Daniel?
Yeah. I thought his name was Daniel too. Isn't his name Daniel as well?
Yeah.
No?
For some reason I heard Jamie. Sorry. Daniel.
Oh, no worries.
It was funny. Sorry.
You're all Jamie.
I know. I'm like, huh?
Both of us were confused for a minute there. Yeah, no, the only thing is like, that's just where we're at with webhooks right now, and as far as their functionality. I don't know if it will change in the future. The thing when we look at this, right, when we talk about this and we talk about outbound webhooks, it's really easy for us to do the action here when we say when the property is created, when a field's created, right? Those are two easy things. When we say a property is created, we are grabbing out like all of the field data for that property, I believe. I don't know if it pulls out the contact data that's also associated with it. So that's one thing that I probably suggest, like, if you want to, you could test it out, but I'm pretty positive it's just the field data for it. When we talk about contacts, obviously that's kind of like another caveat, right? Contacts aren't always created when we're on a property. Sometimes they're already existing, and so we're bringing them onto that property. So I imagine it's a matter of like, this list will get very long for outbound. And instead, it just makes a lot more sense to build it out through our API, since it's a lot easier to get that done. So you've tried it out? Yeah. So when you tried it out, you most likely, like I said, just got the property data. And that's just because, again, that's easy for us to go, cool, you want this? You want the fields? Yeah, we can get you the fields. But then when we start talking about these other columns, if you wanted to pull the contacts, or you wanted to, or the documents or the contacts, you wanted to pull the emails sent, that kind of stuff, it's different. That's when things get a little complex. I don't even think emails is an option for that, for the API. I think it's literally just, it's pretty, oh no, property emails is good. Okay, so emails is fine. So contacts, documents, emails, fields, notes and tasks, and then property templates. But I think property templates is just applying. Maybe it's not. But that's where I would take a look at. And again, yeah, so you're just going to go, once you're in your open to close account, you can just go down to your gear icon, get into apps and APIs. And then where it says API and it has that little arrow, this is just going to take you to the documentation. If you're not logged into your open to close account, you're like, I don't have a login, right now, maybe you have TCs logged in, or you just don't have a login. You're just going to go to our website, scroll to the very, very bottom, and you'll see API. And this will also open up the API documentation. We try to make things very, very, very transparent with you guys. If you open up the API documentation, you can see all of it. But remember, you're going to need that API token that's specific to your account. And that API token is created here when you select create API token. I'm not going to click on that because obviously this is going to get uploaded to the internet, and we don't need my API token to be out in the wild of YouTube from there. But yeah, cool. Source and listing address. See, that's the other thing too, Dawn, is that you're like the source, like, yeah, that's probably going to be on the contract themselves, but the listing address, is that going to be the address associated to the contact on the property? Like, is that going to be like this address? Or is it going to be, let me go to this one, this address, the contract title? Okay, yeah. I would say your best bet then would be using the API, because the API is going to be what will grab the contract title for you and all of those other fields. At least it should. Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Any other questions that we want to review for Q&A? Cool. I will go back to taking a look at the FAQs. Let's see. Looks like we had some changes to our change logs. I figured I could pull that up for you guys. We're going to go over to our person icon and go to change log. And then here you'll see the change log that we had recently. So it looks like there's just been a couple things that have been updated on it. REST API and pagination. That's a wonderful word. Just talking about how to pull properties via the REST API. Tag and roles assignment. There was a glitch in our UI during which when assigning roles or tags with the internal details section of a task, the role and the tags were incorrect, appearing as the same value. Oh, interesting.
That was a really funny one. So you'd go inside the task, and whenever you assigned it to a role, it would create the tags the same. And if you change the tags, it would change the role to whatever the tags were. So yeah, they got that all fixed. So that's all squared away now.
Did it create the tags even if the tag wasn't like existing?
So we noticed it on the property. So when you go on a property and you get to like the internal details, that menu.
Yeah, when you're here.
Menu in there. Yeah. So it only did it when you were in here. So you would put a tag right here, and then you would go to assign to, and it would like the assign to would say what the tag was. And so then you'd go to correct it, and then the tag would say who the role was.
That's so funny. That's so funny. There's something so that they just got
That's
crossed.
A little thing.
That's
and
really
it was just when you were in this menu. It wasn't like when you were on like doing it from outside of this menu. It wasn't there. It was just in this menu.
Huh. That's super interesting that I mean, obviously there's like a ton of things in the system that like sometimes when things happen, right? Sometimes there's updates to the system, and that can kind of touch other parts of the system depending on how interconnected everything is. And I know that when we make updates to like mass assigning tags or mass assigning roles to things, like some things can happen. But it's super interesting that number one, we found this out on the property. So someone is tagging each task on the property. That's a lot of work. And then also on top of it, they're assigning to specific people as well. So that's really interesting. I will touch on for everyone else who hasn't used this functionality yet. If you want to en masse assign a bunch of tasks with tags or roles, you're going to head to that task template. So you're going to go over to your hammer icon and to your templates. You're going to make sure to go to your task templates. Once you're in here and you open up that task template, we can click on this drop-down arrow here. It's going to expand each one of these tasks for us. We can also go to the task itself. So I'm just going to go down the list, click on that drop-down arrow on that task itself and expand that one task. And then here I can add the tags. I can select the tags from the list. I believe I can update no, I cannot update their color. I have to click on manage tags to then update their color. But if I wanted to en masse update all of them, I can select all next to tasks, go to change task tags if I wanted to add the tags, or I can go to task roles if I wanted to add the rules and say all of these people, all of these transactions or all of these tasks are taken care of by the transaction coordinator. You see it happens immediately. So that's just if you guys already need to have that. There are a couple other options here as well. Contingency dates. We can also go to color and update the color if we need to, or we can mass delete all of them if we need to. I would obviously suggest don't mass delete your tasks from a task template. Be careful with that. Cool. Awesome. Well, I don't see any other questions coming into the Q&A. We'll go ahead and wait a couple more minutes and see if you guys do have any other questions or if there is anything else that we want to look at. If we do not see any, I will go ahead and let you guys go for today, getting you out a bit earlier than usual. Awesome. Cool. Alrighty, guys. Well, then I will let you go. That way we can have a bit of a shorter call today. Just went over a couple Q&As about APIs and webhooks and that kind of stuff. I'm hoping that we can get another training on the book soon when we have the other features that we want to take a look at. We had touched on them, we had talked about them, and now you guys have kind of seen that there's a little something in here waiting in the background for it. Once we get that kind of like set up, obviously we're going to have another training on it. We have our we have our webinars for that kind of stuff. Like I said, if any of you guys are interested in the beta programs, you're going to want to reach out to us in support to send us a message. There are 2 requirements for beta. You need to be number 1 on either the Grow, Pro, or Scale plan. And number 2, you'll need to make sure that you're a paid subscriber. Doesn't matter how many months. We just want to make sure that you're a subscriber. And then also, and this is kind of like, would be really, really helpful. So 3 things technically. We would like feedback from you guys. We want to know how things are working, if they're working well, if you like them, if you hate them, if you need something else to happen with them. That way we can figure out what we can do and add that to the roadmap, and then make sure that when we release secondary intake forms to everyone, your guys' feedback was taken into consideration from the beginning kind of thing. And it helped make those intake forms a better tool to be used by everyone. Cool. Other than that, if you're running into any other questions or you're running into anything else, definitely feel free to reach out to us using the chat within your Open to Close account. You can also email us at help@opentoclose.com. If you're looking for more webinars like today's webinar, you're going to go over to our Learn tab. You're going to click on Webinars. Here you're going to see our Getting Started one. This is kind of just like a review of Open to Close a bit. And then Wednesday workshop. And then below that, we've got importing, fields, tasks, emails, triggers, and intake forms. Those are going to be our 101 articles. If you are a new client, if you are an old client and you're like, I've been with Open to Close for a while. Let's say you're a seasoned client of ours who's been with Open to Close for a while, and you feel like you're not using the system to the fullest capability that you possibly could. I always suggest, the first thing I say to you, go to these classes and watch them. See what's different when it comes to onboarding, because we've had a lot of different upgrades in the past 2 years alone with our onboarding and getting you guys started in Open to Close. There could be something within these 3 classes here, not importing necessarily, but within these 3 classes here that could make the difference in making your system a lot more easier to use. Specifically, I found that a lot of our clients who have been with us for the past, let's say 2 years, before we had the pre-built account, this intake form training has been literally life-changing for them, because it's just learning a little bit more about how form conditions work, right? That was, I think, one of the hardest things for a lot of our clients who have been on the system who initially started to work with me. That was kind of where we were struggling with, was form conditions and form triggers on our intake form, because that's what, sets that property up for success. Instead of having everything come on, let's take a look at how we can make it that when you need it, it comes on. When you don't need it, it doesn't come on. We don't have to worry about that. So I would suggest anyone who's interested in that, do that. After that, if you're like, Hannah, optimization hours, I've realized what I've done and I need help with it, you can always reach out to support if you need to, or you can go to onboarding and you can set a time to schedule with us, and we can take a look at your account, have a chat, see what's going on, and see about how we can assist you best. Cool. Alrighty, guys. Well, I'm going to let you go. Thank you for coming in. I don't see any questions. I'll go ahead and mute myself and leave us open for another minute. If I see a question, we'll go ahead and answer it. If not, I will let you guys go. Thank you so much for joining us today. Happy Wednesday. Make sure you're getting water. Make sure you're, stretching. Stretching is very important. And I will see you guys next Wednesday.